Good evening, everybody. How are we all doing? I said I caught myself by surprise there. Um, it's a really irritating thing on this piece of software is that when you press go live, it if you actually with Max, if you actually put it over the words, it gives you a dictionary definition of it, which is not really what you want when you're trying to do things and synchronize different things together. Um, so anyway, despite that, we're here. We're here, and the weather is grim. So hopefully we can cheer things up a bit tonight. A bit of a change of plan this week. Steve O'Donoghue was meant to be with us, but unfortunately he can't. He's an essential worker, and he's been called in on an emergency rota. Um, Phil Mellen, who I had lined up to come in 2 weeks' time, has bravely stepped into the breach. As they say, well, stepped into the breach. Sound like I'm something from the other century somewhere. Has stepped into. I say stepped into up to the plate. That's what I heard somebody using today. We don't play baseball. Anyway, sorry, I'm ranting about words again. So Phil Mellen is going to be joining me shortly and telling us about his new single and what's been happening in the wonderful world of Black Sheep Lad. In the meantime, I'm going to sing his song. Strange that might seem. There's been a thing going on Talent is Timeless, which I know quite a few of you out there have been a member of, which is looking at old songs again. And I realized the other day that there were quite a lot of songs that I'd just not played. I mean, this is something that I wrote, 5, 6, no, it must be at least 8, 9 years ago, but I've probably not played it for about 2 or 3 years. So I thought it would be about time to give it another blast. And appropriate enough for an online event called Talking Songs, this is called In the Words of a Song. Wonder if you miss me, I miss me too. But the best part of me was taken with you. Wonder if you miss me, even notice I've gone. But I gave you the best of me in the words of a song. Dedicated a song to you, a song that wasn't sad. Gave you 200% of me, offered you all that I had. Might not have seemed very, very much, but it's all that I had to give. Would have given you much more if I could, but you know that's all that there is. Wonder if you miss me, I miss me too. But the best part of me was taken with you. Wonder if you miss me, even notice I've gone. But I gave you the best of me in the words of a song. Started out writing songs of love, words poured out from the heart. You do not think about grammar, this is life, not some art. Suddenly, the words have changed, they're coming from a different point of view. You pretend they're written by somebody else, but you know that someone else is still you. Wonder if you miss me, I miss me too. But the best part of me was taken with you. Wonder if you miss me, even notice I've gone. But I gave you the best of me in the words of a song. Always tried to do my best, been good more than I've been bad. The times we loved and laughed together were the best times I ever had. Always had good food to eat, and I've never been rich nor poor. In my life, the worst I felt is when I heard you close that door. And if you miss me, I miss me too. But the best part of me was taken with you. I wonder if you'll miss me even though this I've gone. But I gave you the best of me in the words of a song. I quite enjoy doing that. Is that all right? Am I allowed to enjoy what I'm doing? Yes, I think I am. So, yes, we have you coming up now, Mr. Phil Mellen. Where are you? There you are. Excellent. Hi, Phil. How are you?
Hi, Rowland. Not too bad, thanks. You okay?
Good. Yeah. I'm enjoying the summer. Oh, no, summer. No, I'm not enjoying the summer. No, it's grim. But yeah, we battle on, don't we? Is it pronounced Mellen or Mellen?
Mellen. It's Welsh in origin. My father's Welsh.
Is it?
And apparently it's the Welsh equivalent of Miller.
All right. I thought you were going to say it was the Welsh equivalent. Oh, because Mellen means yellow in Welsh. So that would be Melyn, though.
God, possibly, yeah. I suspect we'll now get lots of viewers typing in saying, no, it isn't. But that's what I was told. That's what I was told. I'm sticking to my story.
Yeah. Thank you, darling. Let's just check it. I've been having slight technical problems, and we keep getting green screen instead of images coming up. So, right. Okay, now it's all working properly. So, what's been happening in your life, Phil? As if I didn't know. Tell us about the new single. Tell us something good and positive.
Yeah. So brought out a new song called "She Makes Me Me," which I'll play later on. Which is it's a love song to my wife, basically. And someone had asked me, "Why don't you write something more upbeat?" Having listened to some of my music, which I took in good part. And I thought, well, what would I want to write about that's upbeat? And love is obviously an obvious choice. But I was trying to do something a bit different. Maybe talk about it a bit more when I come to the song itself. But lyrically, I was just trying to do something a bit different because everything's been said, hasn't it, about love? Pretty much. So you can write, and the danger is you descend quickly into cliche, and I have a bit of a cliche sort of radar on when I'm writing stuff, and try not to rhyme crazy with baby or lady or all those equivalents. So that came out on Friday. It's out everywhere that you can stream music, and people seem to be listening to it, which is nice. It's getting a bit of airplay. That's been really good. But just a busy sort of few days leading up to it, and in the immediate aftermath. So coming on here is quite relaxing.
Well, thank you so much for swapping things around and getting yourself down here today to do it, because it's been a big relief for old Steve. But I'm sure Steve will be with us shortly. So, how long have you been writing songs?
So forever, in one sense. When I was very young, I would write songs, or what I thought were songs, and I was in bands in my sort of teens and 20s. Nothing that made it big, but played lots of pubs and clubs and whatever. And particularly in my 20s, I started writing my own stuff. And sort of did a few demo tapes and things that got politely rejected from lots of places. And then I suppose over time I've always written bits and pieces, but I'd kind of just, with work and life and children and stuff, it had sort of got very much compartmentalized into quite a small corner until last year, really, when as you know, and one or two others will know, I got the dreaded COVID, but I didn't get the kind that sort of puts you on a ventilator, although I did end up in hospital for a period. But I got the sort of long COVID equivalent where it led on to other health issues. It meant I had to give up work for a period of time. But on a positive, it gave me lots of time to sit and noodle around with guitars and ukuleles and to write songs. And it gave me some material to write songs about, I suppose, as well. Because
yes.
you know,
it's a bit of a desperate way to.
Yeah, I wouldn't have.
You wouldn't recommend it. All right, yeah.
No,
you're not going to suggest it as a songwriting means.
No. But to be fair, it is, you know, from my point of view, it's led to me spending much more time on music than I have for 30 years, I would say, probably, or nearly 30 years. And has led to me having a recording contract, which is something that I'd always dreamt of having, you know, and having songs going out on the radio and getting onto places like this, you know, so I can't resent it too much.
Excellent. So what's the first song you're going to sing for us? What's the story behind that?
Okay, so this is a kind of COVID inspired song, actually, because as I say, with the long COVID, I have lots of different symptoms and effects of having long COVID. And one of the things that was weird was I got something called libido reticularis, which you can feel free to Google in your own time. But it's basically a harmless skin condition, but it was quite apparent visually on my hands and feet more than anything else. I'm not saying this to disgust our viewers or listeners, but it led to me writing a song which was just sort of musing on attractiveness, really. And, you know, as you get older, things change about you, and does your wife, your husband, your partner, whoever, find those things less attractive, or does love kind of overcome that? And you know, the visual nature of attractiveness doesn't matter quite as much as the underlying love and passion that exists within a relationship. So it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but it's a love song, really, at the end of the day.
Excellent.
And it's called Libido. If you prefer aesthetics to substance, then look away, look away. I look like I'm running from the outside these days, oh these days. They say that beauty's only skin deep, so I'm heading for the place where they dip their sheep, oh libido. I'm daily checking my symptoms, awaiting the cure, oh the cure. But though I may not be at my best, my thoughts are still impure, oh so impure. So if you feel like love in the time of COVID, let's go to your room and get naked, oh libido. It hasn't affected my libido. Don't send our love into remission. Please overlook my skin condition, oh libido. I understand if you want to wear gloves when we touch, oh when we touch. And as long as they're at least elbow length, I won't mind that much. Oh no, not much. I get so excited when we make out. It causes my skin to have a breakout, oh libido. Don't send our love into remission. Please overlook my skin condition. I know I'm not at my most appetizing, but I'll surely improve with some moisturizing Olivito. Olivito. Olivito.
Excellent. That's a great rhyme. That is no way that can be accused of having cliches. In moisturizing, appetizing, fabulous, fantastic
Thank
stuff. I was just thinking about it as you were singing. Then the appearance thing. I mean, it's quite a well-trodden path, that, in terms of inspiration, actually, isn't it? If you think about it, things like Roxanne, you know, the original story, plus the song. And the other thing that sprang to mind was a film from the 80s by Steve Martin called All of Me. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Which is the same deal, isn't it, really?
Yes.
And
of course, Steve Martin was in a film called Roxanne, wasn't he? Which was,
yes, he was. Yes, ironically,
Cyrano de Bergerac, basically, in a sort of modern form.
Yeah. I'd forgotten that he was in both, but it was Lily Tomlin, was it?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, Lily Tomlin. Great film. Of course, the irony of it is at the end, though. No, I won't say the end. So
don't spoil it.
No,
for those
those haven't seen a film that came out in 1984. There'll be a few people haven't. When you're writing, I mean, there's a clear starting point on that one. Do you have a routine when it comes to, you know? I mean, I know that you've said that, you know, for a long time you weren't songwriting, but now you're doing it on a sort of regular basis. Do you have an approach to it, or does it just happen or not happen?
I've probably got two approaches in one sense. I'm quite lyrically driven in the sense that, you know, as I already said, I want to try and avoid cliche. I want to write something that makes sense and sounds good when you sing it lyrically. So I'll often be musing on a subject and perhaps write down some lines that go with that subject. But sometimes, sort of in a parallel, I'm also noodling around with some chords or a sequence. You know, and the good days are when those two things kind of align, and you go, well, actually, that chord sequence goes with that. But what I have got better at in the last year or so is not being afraid to sort of rip it up and start again. To quote Orange Juice. But you know, to sort of go, well, I've written that, but it doesn't work. And I have recycled some lyrics into other songs, or recycled the chord sequence and said, well, it doesn't work with those lyrics, but it does with those. So there's a bit more freedom around not going, I've written it and that's it now, sort of thing. But some stuff just comes really quickly. You know, there are a couple of songs. Libido was one where I just had the idea and it went pretty quickly, you know, sort of 10, 15 minutes later I got the song. You know, same with Zombie Romance.
The thing you're saying about you know, not being afraid to tear it up and throw it away. I mean, one of the things that I mean, obviously, I've had this conversation with, you know, 50 odd people now, and they've a lot of people have said that they've been not lethargic, but just found that makes it sound like idleness. But they've been unable to do things very much during the lockdown, whereas you seem to have been one of those people, because of your circumstance, where you've actually sort of come out of it more driven in a musical sense.
Very much so. And I think if you'd sort of said to me 18 months ago, you know, you're going to be spending far more time on songwriting and performing, and you'll have a recording contract and you'll be putting stuff out there, I probably would have laughed, because I was so far away from that in terms of my daily routine. Whereas now, because I'm, you know, vast of the majority of the time based at home. I'm working 3 days a week, but that is from home, so it's you know, commute is not happening things. So I've got far more time, and therefore I've sort of been able to treat it more not as a job at all, because there's a real joy, I think, in sort of the craft of songwriting. So I'm not sitting down thinking I've got to turn out a song, but just tucking myself away in one of the bedrooms. You've got a little recording set up. you know, and working on stuff, and then going, right, I've got that to a point where I want to record it or put it out into something, and being able to do that from home relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Now I do miss, because I'd been in the studio back in the autumn when we were sort of able to do those kind of things, and there is something about being able to bounce ideas off,
Yes.
you know, an engineer or another musician who's in there and saying, "Well, does that work? You know, would you have that effect on the guitar at that point, or would you bring some keyboard in at this point?" You know, so I haven't got that. I've got that remotely, but I haven't got that immediacy of that. But it has just meant I'm really productive, which, you know, I've
thing about
probably
the
written.
studio. Sorry, the thing about the studio, I think it's quite interesting. I mean, for me personally, since moving back to the UK, I've put out 4 CDs, and the first 3 I did in studios. The fourth one was a live album, so that's not the same deal at all. But the other 3, I deliberately went into studio. Although I've got, you know, I've got microphones and I've got monitors and I've got everything else here that I could record at home. If I'm going to do something that's going to be put out, I've always gone into a studio to do it, because for me it's that the discipline of it. You know, you go in with it, you've got a set budget, you're going to go into the studio and say, right, I've got so many days to do this, etc., etc. This is what we're going to do, and therefore you sort of work at it. Whereas at home, there are songs that I've started recording at home and I'm still fettling with them like 2 years later. So that's one of the things for me. But you don't seem to have that issue. You seem to be quite focused on it.
Yeah, and I think there's that bit about second chances and stuff, isn't there? And this might not even be a second chance, might be like 5th chance or something. You know, but having sort of this been a dream, you know, to record and play live and to put stuff out since I was, you know, in my teens. And this is, to me, the sort of, it's not the last opportunity, but it's a late flowering opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, to do it at least part time, and, you know, if things go well, maybe full time. You know, and I suppose that's what I'm kind of doing, is seizing that and saying, let's write all the stuff that I should have written, but perhaps, you know, with a bit more maturity and experience and stuff, it may even be better than what I would have written, you know, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's a good point. The other thing about it that talking to other people about this as well is that the one of the issues for me is not having the stimulus of meeting people and doing other things. Kind of, you know, restricts you to a certain extent. I think that's one of the things I found, and I know other people have said the same type of thing, that it's not quite sure how to put it. But even though you might not be writing about meeting other people, and you might not be writing about them even, it's just the fact that you feel isolated away from, like, society, as it were.
Yeah, and I suppose then you can take what I've done is take inspiration from other things. I mean, you mine your past and your past experiences, but also books and TV and films and things. You know, Zombie Romance was inspired by watching too much Walking Dead when I wasn't feeling very well. I've got a song called Wintering, which is basically written from a book of the same name by an author called Catherine May that I'd read when I wasn't feeling well. You know, so I think you then sort of go off at tangents, don't you? So you're not necessarily looking for that everyday experience of seeing someone and thinking, what's their story, and could you write about it, or an incident in the, you know, supermarket, or whatever, setting you off to write something. It's probably more going back into your history a bit, looking at your closest, your nearest and dearest, and looking at those other inspirations from other art that's out there, I suppose.
And one of the things you just reminded me of is, do you know a cartoonist or cartoon character called Dilbert?
Yes.
Right. Well, the guy who invented Dilbert, I mean, obviously, for those who don't know, the setting is an office, and it's all about office politics and what goes on, and people are working in offices. And he decided this is what he was going to do. And he got a book, and it said how to syndicate your cartoons. Send them off to as many people as you can. Don't worry about it. The first 100 people you send them to, they will reject them. but don't be discouraged, blah, 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 blah. So he thought, okay, that's fair enough. So he packaged it all up, sent it away. First one he sent it away to said, fabulous, we'll have it. Right? They syndicated it across the States. So he was suddenly incredibly successful. But he couldn't give up his day job. He didn't give up his day job for several years because all his work, all his sources for these cartoons was from his job working in office. And none of the people that he worked with knew that he was doing this because they were the butt of all his jokes, which I thought was quite bizarre. Yeah, anyway, there you go about stimulus to create things. What's the next song then, Phil?
So one of the sort of things I've been mining is childhood, I suppose. Some reminiscence, but this one's more about my own children. So I've got 4 wonderful children, ranging from 11 to 18, and Daisy, who's the oldest, if all goes well, will be going off to university in September. And it just made me think about the things you do as a family, the traditions and habits that you have as a family, and the things that you do together that are what make you your family. You know that no, other families may do similar things, but you do them in your own particular way. Yeah. So this song is a bit more wistful, I suppose, and he's thinking about that, and it's called Glue.
Great.
I should be clear that we don't do glue as a family. You'll see
only amphetamines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were old school that way. You'll see when the chorus equivalent comes around why that word's in there. Okay, this is Glue. Grabbing in the early morning, walking through woods late at night, listening to our favourite music, making up after a fight, watching TV in the evening, talking about all your plans, reading these stories and poems, picking up popcorn in pans. These are the things keep us together like glue. Is this the last time we'll do the best things that we do? One day I hope you'll do them with your children too. Da 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 da. Badly made gingerbread houses, playing outside in the snow, watching you learning from others, learning from you as you grow, singing out nonsense and smiling, laughing at our secret stuff, eating ice cream from the tub with a spoon, never knowing when we've had enough. These are the things keep us together like glue. Is this the last time we'll do the best things that we do? One day I hope you'll do them with your children too. Da, 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 da. Rocking you late in the night when you've woken through TV, watching you take the first swampy steps across the room, tucking you under the covers, watching you sleeping. Everything you've ever done since you were in the womb. These are the things keep us together like glue. Is this the last time? Do the best things that we do. One day I hope you'll do them with your children too.
Great, lovely. That really wistful. Somebody commented, very Roy Harper sound.
I'll take that any day.
I thought you might. Yeah, funny enough, I was reading an article the other day in the paper about, it's a phrase you don't often hear these days. I was reading an article about linguistic things in families, about how we have our own phrases for things, often mispronunciations and stuff like that. It was quite interesting. So, yeah, go on.
As I say, I think you pick up little things as well from sort of films and TV that you watch together, and then you completely understand when you make a 2-word reference to something.
Yes.
And the four of you or the 6 of you or whatever understand that, but nobody else around you does, you know, because you're referring to it slightly obliquely. And I think it's just a lovely thing.
Yeah, and I think it's something that happens in friendships as well.
True, that's true.
I know there's a guy I was in a band with just after I left university, and I can't even remember what the joke was, but it was something about. Anyway, the punchline was 20 past 2, to be said in a Geordie accent, and I met up with him. I don't know, only 3 or 4 years ago, and something happened. And his immediate response was to say 20 past 2 in a Geordie accent. Now, that's something that's lasted for 40 years, whatever. And it's strange. And it is. But I think it's more prevalent within families, but certainly within close friends, it happens as well. Yeah. So I want to talk to you a bit about your instrumentation. The ukuleles, because you're a big ukulele man.
I am.
When did that start?
So, for most of my career, I was a teacher, predominantly a primary school teacher, although I did spend some time in secondary school as well. And I suppose I started playing, little soprano ukulele because it was a good instrument to teach kids.
Yeah.
And then I found it a convenient thing to heft around with me wherever I was going. So if you're going on holiday for 2 weeks in the summer, nobody wants you to put 2 guitars in the car. For obvious logistical reasons, but you can slip a soprano or a little concert ukulele in a bag, and it not take up too much room, and then you can play around with it. And then I sort of got onto, I'm holding in my hand now, the baritone ukulele. And baritone ukulele is basically just the highest 4 strings of a guitar. But it just has a slightly different sound to it. And I just found it easier to write on, if I'm being honest. So there's a little bit of laziness about it. But you can get some slightly different sounds, and you can play things on it that you can't do the same. Some things have translated across to the guitar eventually. So Livido, I think originally I wrote on a baritone uke, and then I've just put it into a guitar, and it's a bit better, it's a bit fuller. But certain things don't translate in the same way, because you've got open strings above there which might echo or jar against what you're doing, and not being a good enough guitarist to guard against that. Sometimes it's safer for me to go on the uke, and it is a different sound. I mean, particularly the little concert soprano, which I'll play for the last song I do today. It's a sort of quite a joyful sound, and I was sort of mining last week, having got a single coming out that's got ukulele on it. I thought, what else is out there apart from the really obvious stuff? I don't want to bracket myself with George Formby particularly. What else is out there? And there's so much music out there of all kinds, obviously, but ukulele-wise, there's some really good stuff out there that people have been very creative with, and married the ukulele with other things to make some really nice sounds.
Have you heard James? What's his name?
I know what you're going to say, and I can't remember his name either, but yes.
He does Billie Jean.
Right, I've not heard that one.
Oh, it is phenomenal. It is utterly phenomenal. Because he does Billie Jean on ukulele, and he he introduces it as if he's got a band. So he's saying, well, so I'll just introduce the bass player. And it's very sort of, it's well structured the way he delivers it, but the song is just magnificent. The way he sings it and plays it is fabulous.
I think if it's the same guy I'm thinking of, I was listening to some of his stuff last week, and he's just a real virtuoso on the ukulele, and his mastery of it as an instrument is sort of way above any level that I'm at.
He is extraordinary. Yeah, because in fact, one of my guests a few weeks ago is a very, very keen ukulele player, and he was equally raving about this guy. I can't think what his surname is. Is there somebody out there who can help me? James. Anyway, worth checking out. But it is an interesting thing because the ukuleles had this massive level of interest in it. In terms of people who are playing them, people who are, I suppose for a lot of people, it started off with the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain. I have to say, when the first time I saw them doing It Smells of Teen Spirit, I was just blown away by it. I just thought it was just remarkable. But you still don't see it actually. As far as I know, it's not the sort of thing you see in sort of at a broader level of music. I mean, there's lots of people on the folk circuit.
I think there are certain songs that are kind of broken through. So Eddie Vedder, ex of Pearl Jam, did a whole album of ukulele stuff. I think it was just called Ukulele Songs, where he obviously came away from the genre of grunge that he was in and did some more sort of. It probably was more folk tinge. Yeah, but I was listening to the American band Train the other day, and they had a big hit with a song called "Hey Soul Sister," and that's a ukulele-based song. Right. It starts off with just ukulele and vocals. It then becomes something a bit bigger, and drums and bass and stuff kick in. Yeah. But it certainly starts off as a sort of very summery kind of ukulele type song. Jason Mraz did a song called "I'm Yours," which was a big hit a few years ago, and that was again starts off as a ukulele. So I think it has become incorporated a bit more. I mean, I wonder with one thing with the ukulele, particularly sort of soprano concert ukuleles, is they kind of look faintly ridiculous, particularly on a man of my stature standing with a. If I put the concert ukulele up there, it does look kind of odd, and I wonder whether people, if they're feeling rock and roll, don't want to have that image of looking slightly twee or slightly odd, whereas a guitar looks a bit more.
I take your point. There was I was very fortunate about 4 years ago. We were in the States, and down in Nashville, I played in quite a lot of bars and stuff. And there was one night I sat in with a band there, and I was stood next to the mandolin player. Now, I'm 6'2", and I just about came up to his chin. And he was what you'd expect a sort of, a Nashville musician to look like. He was huge with a big beard, big guy. And he was a mandolin player. And he'd actually toured, because it was very strange, because he toured with J.J. Cale. So, I mean, he knew what he was doing. He was a star guy, great player. But it just looked, at first glance, slightly strange, shall we say. I mean, he was massive with his tiny little instrument. But it's, I mean, fiddle players, nobody worries about the size of your fiddle, do they? If you don't mind.
This is true.
The other thing that Kev said when we were talking a few weeks ago, Kev said the thing about that with only 4 strings, if you play a dominant chord or a diminished chord, they're much clearer on a 4-stringed instrument, because if you're playing them on a 6-stringed instrument, a lot of the notes are doubled up.
Yeah, true.
And that's really stuck with me when he said that. So I've been thinking to myself about trying out a baritone uke. I think that would be my choice. But back to your tunes. What's your next tune then?
So nice segue, because I'm going to use the baritone uke for this one. So following the theme of childhood, this is more reflecting back on my own childhood. And I always think there's a danger when you write a song about childhood that you go one of two ways. You either go rose-tinted glasses, saccharine sweet, everything was lovely. Why isn't it like that these days? or you can go dark and bitter about how terrible your childhood was. And obviously both of those things could be true for some people, but I think for most of us, it's somewhere in between. There's good stuff from childhood and bad stuff that we carry with us. And so this song is sort of trying to write something like that. It's called Genealogy.
Excellent.
Grass in my hair, mud on my shoes, sun on my skin, my body a bruise. Days in the sun, out in the field, playing with friends, wounds that soon heal. What did I know back in those days? How would I grow? How would I change? Dead on my feet, end of the day, stuck in the cart, loaded with hay. Scratches and cuts, donkeys and sheep, way beyond tired, ready for sleep. What did I know back in those days? How would I grow? How would I change? Sweat mixed with blood, blood mixed with tears, bad mixed with good, down through the years. Myth mixed with truth, truth mixed with lies, along the way, innocence dies. What did I know back in those days? Would I grow? How would I change? What did I know back in those days? How would I grow? How would I change? How would I change? What would I change?
Lovely. Your lyrics come across kind of, sort of. I have this image of you kind of sitting and thinking carefully. Do you know what I mean? They're kind of wistful somehow or other.
Yeah, I try to. I suppose the people who are my songwriting heroes were always great lyricists.
Yes.
Paddy McAloon of Prefab Sprout is kind of my all-time hero. And some of the stuff he's written, like lyrically, you just it's just kind of the lyrics themselves kind of warm you even without the music. Neil Finn, Crowded House.
Yeah.
And a more contemporary level, Guy Garvey and Elbow, John Bramwell. X of I and Clue, people like that, where the lyrics, you really have to listen because the lyrics all matter. There are no throwaway lines. And I suppose I try and bring that, if I can, to what I'm doing, that it's, that it makes you think, it conjures up an image, that it's not obvious, hopefully, in what it's saying always, but it makes sense. There's a danger, isn't there, sometimes that you try and rhyme stuff because it rhymes, rather than that's the right word. I mean, I do make use, I have to say, of the thesaurus and stuff sometimes, where I'm sitting thinking, well, what I want to say is this, but the word that I'm trying to rhyme with doesn't, and then but you can then sort of change it and tweak it to kind of fit that. So yeah, lyrics are important to me, and I'm about to sing a very silly song in a minute, in one sense, but I think even comic songs, even songs with an element of humour about them, can still be clever lyrically, can still be thought-provoking lyrically, can still kind of make you.
And I think, as you say, I mean, even comedy has to be precise. I mean, I did a stand-up comic weekend a while ago, which Leslie had bought for me for a present, which was brilliant. But the interesting thing was we had to write a script for a 3-minute piece, whatever it was, and then we had to go through it word by word and decide whether the words were set up or punchline.
Right.
And if they weren't one of those two things, out.
Right.
And the amount of detail that we had to go into in it, and it's the same with writing a song, And
if you can do both as well, if you're a Bill Bailey or a Tim Minchin or just the craft that goes in there, because obviously there's phenomenal musicianship on one level. There's the comic timing bit that you've just talked about, not wasting words, but there are you sometimes see people who are doing musical comedy who think that because it's being sung, it's funny, if you see what I mean. But actually, if it doesn't fit and it doesn't have the punchline bit or the payoff, as it were, then it's just a silly song, isn't it? Whereas, someone, I mean, if you watch Tim Minchin live, he spends the entire evening building towards certain things, and then undercutting them quite often. And same with Bill Bailey to some extent as well. And there's a real skill. There's sort of 4 or 5 different skills almost coming together there to create something that good.
Have you come across Chris Taverner?
Yes. I've actually met Chris.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I when I was a head teacher, I did a series of fundraising gigs. Where I organised and got local musicians to come and play. And Chris was one of the guys that I didn't know him, but someone else who was on the bill had suggested him. And I had that sort of reservation that I was just talking about, comic songs. Is it going to be good? He was absolutely brilliant on the night.
He's excellent.
It wasn't just the songs; it was his links between the songs. Sort of deadpan, very funny.
We met Chris about 5 years ago, probably, and when he was probably maybe just starting out on the open mic circuit, and then we saw him quite regularly over a period of about a year, and then we didn't see him for a year, and then we saw him again performing, and the difference was phenomenal. I mean, everything was choreographed. The whole thing, the way he delivered things, everything. It was beautifully done. Really, I mean, he's a consummate professional, Chris. I've got a lot of time for him, and a very, very clever writer. Clever writer.
I noticed in the last few weeks that he's been very busy, and he's been appearing on Sky TV, BBC Radio and stuff. So it looks like his profile is rising as well, which would be a really good thing.
Yeah, he did something 18 months ago with I can't think what it was now. It was a theme for again, it was a charity production, but there was some really big name involved in it, an actor, male actor. I can't remember, but that was pretty high profile as well. And he's got some people, on the Radio 1 side who are supporting him well. He deserves it because he is. He's
Yeah,
a lovely bloke and a great singer, great performer. But yeah, the lyricism. I mean, when you're saying before about using thesaurus and things, I don't know. Have you come across Sammy Khan's rhyming dictionary?
I think we talked about this before.
Did we?
Yeah.
On the other show we did.
That's right. Yes.
Because that's remember. But the interesting, he uses this word singability, and I was listening to somebody today, actually, somebody who I think is a local guy, great performer, full of energy, writes good songs. But because he doesn't come from that, because he's younger, is what I'm trying to say. He doesn't he doesn't have that sense of, to me, singability in his lyrics. He'll drop a word in that, first of all, won't rhyme, and okay, that's all right. But it's not just the rhyme; it's the sort of the sound of the word, which isn't necessarily the rhyme. If you know what I mean. And I think it's incredibly important. And I get the feeling that you must spend a lot of time writing and rewriting your lyrics to get them refined to what you want them to be.
I think that's half true. With certain songs, I've gone back and refined and rewritten verses and added bits and changed bits and taken bits out. And then I think, as I said earlier, sometimes with the music, sometimes it just comes and you're in a flow and you go that, and it just. But the odd song like that, Zombie Romance, for example, I wrote in 10 minutes. And lyrically, it's quite dense. There's quite a lot of stuff going on in that song. But it just flowed. And when I sang it, it didn't need rewriting. And so I went, that's great. That's how I'll do it. You know, and the only thing that changed when I recorded it was arrangement, really, adding some strings in and, putting bass on it and stuff. Other things. So She Makes Me Me, which I'm going to do in a minute, which is the single that's out at the moment, was a much shorter song when I first wrote it.
All right.
It was a little sort of dash through. It was 2 minutes long. And then when I started thinking about, I quite like this song and I wonder if other people will like this song, and thinking about putting it out, I thought, well, 2 minutes is very short. And I sort of wrote a third verse, which I then rewrote a couple of times because it felt grafted on when I first did it, because the song was sort of sitting there as an entity. And then I've gone, and here's verse 3 and an additional chorus. And all the choruses in this song are different. So it wasn't like I could go back to chorus 1. It's a really, I'm hoping my recent performances of this song, I've got it all right. But I have a history of getting the words wrong in this song because there are a lot of words to get wrong. And it's quite quick, and with my sort of COVID lungs, which I'm going to use as an excuse occasionally, I'm like struggling to get.
Don't worry about it, Phil. We'll never know.
Yeah. So go on. So this is kind of a pure love song in one sense, and it's about my wife Claire. But what I was trying to do was avoid cliche, but try and say, what's the equivalent of how great my wife is in various forms? So I'm not saying she's like those things. I'm saying those things are as good as her at what they are. So, for example, in the last verse, I talk about the storage power of Tupperware. Now, I'm not saying my wife is like Tupperware, but I'm saying Tupperware is the best stuff for storing, your leftover meals and stuff, isn't it? It's unparalleled, unchallenged. Do
they still make Tupperware?
They do. I mean, I'm sure there are other plastic
brands are available.
but yes, Tupperware is still out there. One of my children said to me the other day, "You say in this that a manta ray. Why are you comparing, our mum to a manta ray? She's not a dangerous sea creature." And I said, no, but a manta ray is a beautiful thing. If you watch films of the manta ray swimming, it's poetry in motion, isn't it? It gets used quite a lot in films. So, like in Finding Nemo, it's a manta ray that teaches all the little fish So there's that kind of sense of flow to it.
Do you think that's a play on words with like mantra and manta ray? Is there something going on there?
It's an accidental one. If it might. Well, no, sorry, you're saying from their point, from Disney.
I was saying from their point.
Yeah, so Disney might be far cleverer than I may have. Yeah, maybe. They're hiding it a little bit though in there.
Well, the thing is that they do often in these things. I mean, I remember the first time I went to see Toy Story and listening to the audience and listening to everybody laughing, and then at a certain point the adults laughing.
Yeah, and that is deliberate, isn't it?
There's quite a thing deliberate. Second level.
Yeah, keep the adults interested because they're the ones paying for the tickets and the popcorn.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, those films are great, aren't they? There's, I've obviously said my kids' ages, so I've grown up in the they've grown up in the sort of great era of Pixar films. Where there's, and as an adult, Toy Story 3, I cried in the cinema unashamedly because it just hit something with me, that idea of childhood ending, which I probably alluded to a bit earlier.
Have you ever seen the original film that Pixar did called Luxo Junior?
Don't think I have, no.
It's a short. It's probably only about 3 or 4 minutes, and it's called Luxo Junior. Luxor is the brand name for Anglepoise lamps in the States.
Right, yeah.
Right. And it's about, there's an adult Anglepoise lamp.
Oh, yes, I have seen. I didn't know it was called that, but yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But the great thing, and funnily enough, it relates exactly to what you were saying before about childhood. It is a parent-child relationship between the big lamp and the little lamp. And it's beautiful. And I can't think who was it who said it. That we're saying that the great thing about all these things like Toy Story and Shrek and things like that is that it's not just animation, it's not just 3D animation, it's good stories. And that's what makes them work. Particularly Toy Story, I think, is just fantastic.
If you look at something like A Bug's Life, it's basically a Western, isn't it? I know it's a Western, but in the ant and grasshopper world.
It's not what I've seen, I have to admit.
Right. It's worth a watch, and even musically, they've sort of made little allusions to it, with sort of Spanish guitar and things at different points. But yeah, and so again, there's a two-layered thing. The kids are watching it as a story about an ant, and sometimes adults are watching it and going, "Oh, that reminds me of High Plains Drifter or whatever it might be."
Which again came from somewhere else.
Yes.
Excellent. So, yes, I shall look out for the line about the manta ray then.
Yes, and I'll try not to get that bit wrong. Yeah.
You have to get that line right now because we'll be listening for it.
Yeah. So this is She Makes Me Me.
Excellent.
She's beautiful, incredible, lights up the sky like the sun. She's wonderful, irresistible, that's how I know she's the one. I gaze for days, getting hot in the warmth of her blaze. She's blinding me, outshining me, and I'm not minding at all. She sets me free, like poetry, like dentistry, done properly. A cup of tea, an apple tree, a fantasy, just her and me, an ecstasy, democracy, a great game of Monopoly, just perfectly, she makes me me. She's watchable, untouchable, makes the hair stand on my arms. She's holdable, infoldable, no one's immune to her charms. She's cleverer, I never thought I'd have someone like her. She's humorous, bans gloominess, offer I'm a connoisseur. She makes my day, like sun in May, the smell of hay, I hope she'll stay, a sweet bouquet, a manta ray, la vie française, a free buffet, a win away, a great cafe, I know the way to San Jose, what can I say, she makes me me. She's elegant, intelligent, draws every eye in the room. She's delectable, collectible, see her and my heart goes boom. I stare through air at her face and the wave of her hair. She's persistent and resistant to all the nonsense out there. She changed my life, cuts through the strife like melted butter and a nice sharp knife. A great midwife, a breaking fife, the time before COVID was rife. A breath of air, a juicy pear, the storage power of Tupperware. And to be fair, she makes me mean. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Excellent. That is a cracking song. That really is good. I like it. I can imagine there are a lot of things that they have to explain to your kids, I imagine.
a few, yeah.
A few references. Yeah. Well, Phil, it's flown through. We've been here for chatting away. That was fantastic. Thanks for stepping in at the last minute to do it. That was brilliant. And it's been really, really good fun. Now, one thing about it, anything else you want to say about where people can find out more about your stuff? We've got the website.
Yeah, so thanks for putting the website up. So that's a good source for most things. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, both at Black Sheep Lad, Instagram at Black Sheep Lad as well. Music is out on Spotify. I've got a Bandcamp site as well. We're out on Amazon Prime, Apple Music, all those places. Pretty much most places where you stream music, there's some of my songs out there, hopefully. So if you liked what you heard, please check them out.
Brilliant. That's great. So, Mr. Mellen, thank you very much for playing your songs, for chatting. It's been really, really good fun. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And hopefully I shall see you soon, maybe properly somehow or other.
Yes. Hopefully that's what...
You don't live far away, do you? I don't think.
No, I'm in North Cheshire. I'm
Cheshire,
about 4 or 5 miles away from you, I think, as the crow flies. So, yeah, I think we talked about this earlier, looking forward to the day when we start to do more in-person concerts, as it were.
When we exist from the waist down.
Indeed, yes.
As well as the other half.
Yeah. And thanks for having me on, Roland. Really appreciate it. It's been a great hour.
Absolute pleasure, Phil. So look after yourself and see you again soon. Okay.
Take care.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye now.
That was brilliant. Great songs. Very wistful and thoughtful lyrics. And thoughtful and funny lyrics. So that's all from it from me this week. I did forget to mention one thing. My album has been nominated for the Independent Blues Awards Best Live Album, which I'm very, very pleased about. A big thank you out to Mark Lewis for doing his magic piece of mastering of the thing, and to Eric Damien for the photography, and to the crew, the guys down at Skegness who actually did the recording for me, and all the people at Blues Matters magazine who made it such a great event. So quite pleased about that. So I'll be back next week. My guest is Adam Norsworthy. Now, Adam I met 2 years ago at Skegness when I was comparing the Blues Matters stage down there, and very, very great guy, great guitar player, good songwriter. He works with 2 or 3. He worked with another band called the Mustangs, but he's also got quite a lot of a separate career as an acoustic performer. So Adam will be with me next week. In the meantime, look after yourselves. Have fun if you can. If it gets better, get out and get some fresh air in your lungs. Yeah, right. It has been grim here. They say it's grim in Manchester. Well, it has been today, but I gather it has been like this over most of the country. So nobody's picking on us. So look after yourselves. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next week. Bye.